If you're new to my channel, be sure to stick around for the question of the day so you can be featured in my next video. And be sure to subscribe, like, and hit that bell icon. With that being said, enjoy! What's going on, my Knights of Hen? So, I've given myself the time to really get to know the lightsaber, you know, as usual with my other Force Effects Elite, and I guess standard Force Effects, you know, sabers. So, I guess now that I've gotten the time to kind of know it, here's my official review. But without going into too much detail, which I will, you know, in a second, the lightsaber, you know, isn't too bad. Now, it does have its flaws, which I will get into first because I want to end the video on a more positive note, you know, for a change. But yeah, again, in general, the lightsaber ain't too bad. But again, it does have, you know, its hiccups, in my opinion. And with that being said, you know, this is all just my opinion. You know, this isn't like anything official or anything. This is just me, you know, as a consumer with my own opinions. So if you agree or disagree, you know, power to you. Let me know in the comments below. And let's go ahead and start with the negatives. Now, these negatives, you know, some are small, some are, you know, more bigger, but let's dive into it. Now, something I've noticed with, I'm gonna say like half the emitter, or the emitter if you can even call it that, is while the designs here are quite cool and, you know, quite detailed, I just hate how it's plastic. For me, it gives it a cheap look and feel. To be honest, I don't know what the reason for that is. Maybe it's I don't know, like a cutback on costs. Or I don't know, maybe it's just to be more safe with the blade. And if you watch my video, the blade doesn't necessarily get scratched, but when taking it off, obviously it will touch the blade, so maybe having metal is more prone to, or is more likely to scratch the blade, so maybe that's it. But still, in general, I think I would prefer, you know, consistency with, I guess, the metal or like material they're using. But overall, I mean, it does look cool, but yeah, the plastic for me is just quite, you know, it really does stick out. It really does give the impression of, you know, toy rather than replica. And now going on to the blade, you know, the blade itself isn't too bad, but I did notice, you know, in the last video that they've gone with a more transparent base for the blade, which is whatever, but for some reason, again, this is this is very nitpicky and just something that like just stood out to me personally, but like having it transparent for some reason, this is more or less just in the looks department, but again, it gives it more of a, I don't know, I guess a toy look, but I mean, it doesn't bother me too much. Again, it's just really a nitpicky thing. Now, something I did notice is that there's this one fin that sticks out from the rest on the bottom where the pommel is. I don't think the instruction manual say anything about it, but I'm assuming they're going for like a kind of like a belt clip thing. When I noticed it, I immediately tested it out, and I mean, it does stay on the belt or like strap or wherever you want to put it, but because it's more or less open, you know, I wouldn't recommend it personally because I feel like it's more prone to falling off. And when I tried it, you know, it was that. Like, I really did feel that it was going to fall off. So, I mean, I guess it kind of looks cool, but if you're going to attach it to some kind of belt, I'd say be extra careful. I mean, you don't want to drop this at all. And going back to the blade, in terms of the brightness, it ain't too bad, but it is a standard Force Effects Elite, so it doesn't really stick out in that department for me. It's just as bright as the other ones, I dare say, which I think is a good thing in the end because I guess it shows consistency. I do find that green blades, even in Force Effects, though, tend to be more brighter. I'm not too sure why. If you know, comment below. Now, this one is, you know, by far my biggest negative is, of course, the volume, the speaker. Again, for me, it is still too quiet. I mean, I will say, though, on a slight positive, that it is louder than, say, the Darksaber and Revan's, you know, more notably, and maybe even Palpatine's. But yeah, in general, it still, in my opinion, still needs to be louder than this. Like, if you still compare it to older Force Effects lightsabers and even like custom sabers, by far, this will be quieter. There we go. Versus Yang King. you know, I did compare my Anakin Revenge of the Sith, you know, Force Effects with removable blade with the Darksaber, and the Anakin Force Effects, you know, blew the Darksaber, you know, off the park, like by far. This one, it's a slight improvement, but for me, they still have some way to go. And for me, like, this, the sound, you know, still being, you know, quiet, still brings it down. Alright, I guess it's time to get on to the positives, which I dare say, for the first time on my channel, I think, it outweighs, or slightly by like a smidge, it outweighs the negatives. Again, by like a smidge. So straight up, you know, the detail on it is actually pretty good. I mean, like, I've said that about the Darksaber, and I think I may have said it about the Kylo Ren Force Effects Elite, you know, a while back. But, you know, this one really does have a beautiful, like, look to it. Like, at first, I didn't like the design of it, but it really did grow on me. Whoever made it, or Hasbro, obviously, but whoever designed it, or, like, whoever, you know, makes the hilts, they really outdid themselves here. Sorry, guys, I had my booster shot, and I'm, like, kind of wheezy. But yeah, again, like, the detail in here, even, like, the paint here, like, at first glance, I genuinely thought this was like not paint. It's also got like those, like, the dirt, sandy, kind of borderline rust textures on it, and it just genuinely looks very, very sexy. Pommel even has some detail to it. It just all around looks and feels good. You know, even like the little strings that like stick out of the thing, even that adds on to the details in my opinion, because like it really gives it an authentic look and feel. My only concern is like when holding this, you know, I feel like I'm gonna shift the like the fabric here, like if you can see that. Now for me personally, I want to try and keep its shape as is, like here, but like I'm pretty sure they've like put some sort of glue there, so I'm thinking it should stay, but I'm just scared over time, you know, it might, you know, wear out, like the glue wears out and then it just becomes all messy and stuff. So I guess that's a little concern. I'm not going to say it's a negative because I feel like that'll be a consumer's error at that point. Oh, look at that. See, it's starting to come off. But no, it does feel really, really good. Like, it does feel nice to hold. Now, I will say, you know, it's such a bulky, you know, lightsaber. And like, again, like in my previous video, comparing it to the films one, you know, the films one itself was pretty chunky as it is. So this is more or less on the more accurate side. It's not the heaviest, but it does have some weight to it. And because of the weight and I guess the like the chunkiness and then the weight distribution, whatever you want to call it, it's, for me, it's not the best to do so much like dueling, even though I don't recommend dueling these, in terms of like doing tricks like flurries and all that. If you want to go full on Anakin Skywalker, personally I found it's like more or less difficult. I definitely prefer skinnier hilt and a more consistent like hilt in terms of weight to do that more fancy stuff. But this one, you know, it's fun to still swing around. Now, this one for me personally was a really good positive, but like when putting in the blade, you just kind of insert it in, which I'll have to try and do, sorry, I'm using one hand. And normally with the other Force Effects, you know, lightsabers, you know, besides the Darksaber, normally you would have to like push and twist, which made me a bit hesitant because you would be scratching the blade internals, you know, specifically with Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren's one was, like, for me, notorious for it. I mean, mine is still scratched. I scratched mine, plenty of you scratched yours. But this one, you just insert it like the Kit Fisto Force Effects, and look at that. There we go. No casualties at all, and it's quite secure. There we go. See? Look at that. Look at that. It's fine. So that, for me, is a huge improvement. Like, I dare say by far, or maybe I'm just excited about that. I'm just so astonished by like how much of an improvement this lightsaber is compared to some of the others, you know, again, in my honest opinion. Now, I know I said that, you know, the plasticness, you know, gives it a cheap feel, which I'm standing by, I'm standing firm by. But I will say, you know, the details on it is quite nice. Again, it like adds on to like the details of the hilt. But if you actually look closely, you know, it really does look quite attractive. And speaking of which, you'll find there's like, you know, some open bits here on the, I'm going to say spikes. And then I'll show you in a second, or right now. It actually gives off the illusion that it's being lit up, you know, because it's open. And I guess maybe the plastic is quite thin, so like the light really does come through. And speaking of which, you know, you got the grooves here also, which just adds on to the look of the lightsaber when it's turned on. And yeah, no, it overall just looks really good. You know, while the blade is on, I noticed the other day when playing with it that it actually has a timer, so we'll wait for that any minute now. I think it's maybe like 30 seconds or something, but yeah, I guess that helps with the battery, you know, lasting longer, you know, having a timer on lightsabers, which I've actually found is not so much a common thing, but it is a pretty, like, big thing with some lightsabers. Both, like, I don't know so much about force effects, but definitely, like, some custom sabers. I know one of my ones has it, but yeah. Alright, any minute now. Come on. Come on. Turn off, turn off. Oh, honestly, you're just gonna have to take my word for it. So I'll just go ahead and turn this one off. Oh yeah, another thing too is, this is actually, you know, a lot better than I initially thought too. Like, I thought it was just gonna be like a loose thing you just kind of turn, which in a way it is. But I didn't think there would be some sort of lock mechanism. Like, it really does have like a lock there. So if you, there you go. Which is, okay, good. Some security there. I will say though, like, when turning it on, it does it on like the first, like, kind of turn. To lock it, you'll have to, like, turn it some more there. And then kind of same thing with turning it off slightly, which I'm neutral on, doesn't really bother me. Now, this may be a really stupid thing. I just wish there was maybe like a sticker here, which is like a on-off like guide, because when I first did it, without reading the instruction manual, of course, I accidentally had it already there, and it just turned on automatically, so that gave me a bit of a fright. But, you know, I figured it out in the end, so yeah. And of course, we got the button here. I think this is the only button. Yeah, it's the only button on the hilt, which is the one that just activates, you know, the blaster effects and all that. You know, just tap it, you know, blaster. You know, let's just do it. So, blaster effect. There, and then you hold it, and then you got the screeching effect. So, yeah. But yeah, pretty much in essence, where the lightsaber really does, you know, shine the most, you know, no pun intended, it's just the detail and feel of it. I guess I'm gonna say the color. I do like yellow, but yeah, that's more of a subjective thing. I mean, this whole review is subject anyway, so... But no, I actually genuinely don't mind this lightsaber at all. I dare say this is now my best or favorite Force Effects Elite I have. And I think maybe for the first time, do I recommend this? It's gonna be a sure. It would have been a hell yeah if the speaker was louder. That's the one thing. I just wish they would crank up the volume of, you know, the sound effects and the speaker. Just, But overall, my Knights of Hen, it isn't too bad. $500 Australian, is it worth it? Again, sure. It's a great display piece, it's fun to hold, fun to play with, etc. Just again, I just wish it was louder. And that's it for my review of the Rey Force Effects Elite Lightsaber. Now, last video, I asked you guys, you know, what you guys thought of Episode 6 of the Book of Boba Fett. And this is what y'all said. Now, my question for this video. Do you like the direction on which, you know, Disney is taking Star Wars nowadays? You know, obviously we've seen with the sequels that it was, but when they brought in, you know, Jon Favreau and brought back Dave Filoni, it looked, for me personally, I really am hopeful and liking where Star Wars is going. Granted, there are some episodes so far in the series, you know, in Mando and Book of Boba that are like more borderline filler. But overall, there is a lot of episodes in there I'm like, yes, this is what we needed. But anyway, my Knights of Fen, as always, you know, leave your answers in the comments below to be featured in the next video. And as always, my Knights of Fen, may the Force be with you, and this is the way.